What is freedom? We think we know. We think it's the absence of chains, the right to choose, the open road. Yet look at our world. We are tethered by digital chains, enslaved by notifications that dictate our attention. We are prisoners of jobs we hate, bound by debt and shackled by our own anxiety about what others think of us. We have more freedom than at any time in history, yet we feel trapped. Now, imagine a different kind of chain. Not digital, but cold, hard iron. Imagine being born property. Imagine your body is owned by another man who holds the power of your life, your pain, and your death in his hands. Imagine you are lame, your leg permanently broken. This was the life of Epictetus. He was a slave. He was, by every definition our world uses, the least free man in the Roman Empire. And yet, this man, Epictetus, discovered a secret that made him freer than his own master, freer than the emperors who ruled him, a secret to an inner freedom so total, so absolute that nothing and no one could ever touch it. This is the story of how a slave became a master, not of other men, but of himself. This is his survival guide to life. And it forces us to ask the most important question: who is truly free?
His name, Epictetus, wasn't even a name. It was a label. It simply meant acquired or property. He was born in Hierapolis, in modern-day Turkey, around 50 AD. From his earliest moments, he was merchandise. He was bought and shipped to Rome, the center of the world's power, to serve a man named Epictetus. This wasn't just any master. Epictetus was one of the most powerful men in Rome. He was the administrative secretary to the infamous Emperor Nero, a man of grotesque cruelty and paranoia. Epictetus had likely seen and participated in horrific things. He was a man steeped in power and violence, and he owned Epictetus. Epictetus was not just a slave. He was a plaything for his master's temper. It was during this time that Epictetus became permanently lame. One story, perhaps a legend, but one that defines his entire philosophy, tells us how. One day, in a fit of rage, Epictetus began to twist Epictetus's leg. Epictetus, rather than screaming or begging, simply looked at his master with a calm, steady gaze and said, "You are going to break it." The master, enraged, twisted harder. The bone snapped. Epictetus did not curse him. He did not cry out. He simply said, "See, I told you it would break." This moment is the birth of his philosophy. What Epictetus failed to understand was that while he could break the bone, he could not break the mind. He could command the body, but he could not command the will. In that moment of absolute physical powerlessness, Epictetus discovered his own absolute power. His body was a slave to Rome, but his mind was free. While a slave, his master Perhaps seeing this strange intellect allowed him to attend the lectures of Musonius Rufus, a great Stoic teacher. There, Epictetus didn't just learn philosophy. He found the words for the truth he had already discovered in his own pain. It leads us to our question: who is truly free? The master, a slave to his own rage, or the slave whose mind remained unbroken?
What Epictetus forged in that crucible was the single most powerful tool for mental survival ever devised. He called it the dichotomy of control. It is the foundation of his entire system, and it is breathtakingly simple. Epictetus looked at the universe and divided everything into two categories. Category 1, the things we cannot control. These are the externals. What's in this category? Essentially everything outside your own mind. Your body. Your health. You can influence it, but you can't control it. You can still get sick. Your property. Your reputation, what other people think of you. The past. The future. The weather. The economy. And the actions of other people. Epictetus, as a slave, knew this better than anyone. He could not control his master. He could not control his chains. He could not control his broken leg. Category 2, the things we can control. The list here is very short. In fact, it has only one thing on it: your proheiresis. This is a Greek word. It means your will, your choice, your faculty of judgment. It is your response to the things that happen. That's it. That is your entire kingdom. Epictetus's great liberation was this. He realized that 100% of human happiness and tranquility comes from placing all your energy, all your focus, and all your identity only on category 2. We suffer, he said, because we are fools. We try to control what we can't. We stake our happiness on our reputation, our health, our money. And when those things are inevitably threatened, we shatter. But the true Stoic, the unbreakable man, is the one who has willingly given up all those external things. Epictetus let go of his body. He let go of his freedom. He let go of his leg. He accepted them as external to him. What was him? Only his choice in that moment. His choice to be calm, his choice to be rational, his choice to be brave. His master could threaten his body, but not his choice. He could be chained, but not conquered. This is the ultimate freedom. A freedom that no tyrant, no disaster, no circumstance can ever touch. It asks us again, who is truly free? The person chasing a bigger house and a better title, or the person who has mastered their own inner world?
The dichotomy of control was his foundation, but from it, Epictetus built a set of practical daily rules for survival. This was his Enchiridion, his handbook for life. First principle: you are an actor in a play. He said life is a play, and God is the playwright. You do not get to choose your role. You might be cast as a slave. You might be cast as an emperor. You might be cast as a parent, or as a person who is sick, or as someone who is rich. Your job is not to complain about the role. Your job is to play the role you are given to the best of your ability. If you are a slave, he taught, be the best slave. If you are a father, be the best father. For Epictetus, this meant, I am a slave, that is my part. But I am also a rational human being, That is my true nature. I will play the part of the slave perfectly, without complaint, but I will never let that part define the free mind within me. Think of a job you hate. That is your role. Complaining about it is useless. That's trying to control an external. Instead, play the role excellently while using your internal power, your choice, to plan your next move, to learn, to grow. Second principle, everything has a price. Epictetus was blunt. He said the world is like a market. Everything external has a price tag. Do you want to be rich? The price is your time, your peace of mind, your integrity. Do you want to be popular? The price is flattering people, giving up your authenticity. Epictetus simply said, I choose not to pay that price. He bought his inner peace. And the price he paid? He sold his concern for his body, his reputation, and his status. He considered it a bargain. He said, for a small price, the loss of my leg, my status, I have purchased tranquility. Third principle, practice with small things. He warned not to wait for a disaster. Train your mind daily. When your cup breaks, he said, remind yourself it is just a cup. When your child or spouse leaves, remind yourself they are a mortal, part of the externals I do not control, whom I was fortunate to love for a time. This sounds harsh, but it was his way of protecting his mind from being shattered by the inevitable. By practicing with small losses, he built the inner citadel that allowed him to withstand the great ones. It forces the question, who is truly free? The one burdened by many possessions they fear to lose, or the one who possesses only himself?
History, in its own slow way, often bends toward justice. After Nero's death, Epictetus's master, Epictetus, fell from grace. Epictetus was eventually granted manumission. He was given his freedom. The slave was now a free man. But in 93 AD, a new emperor, Domitian, grew paranoid of philosophers. He saw them as a threat to his power. He banished them all from Rome. For any other person, this would be a crisis. To be exiled, kicked out of your home, your new life ruined. But for Epictetus, this was just another external. He didn't complain, he didn't protest. He simply said, if the emperor doesn't want me in Rome, I will go somewhere else. It was outside his control. He moved to Nicopolis in Greece and did the one thing he could control. He began to teach. And here the great reversal happened. This former slave, this lame, exiled man, opened a school of philosophy, and it became the most famous and respected school in the entire Roman world. The powerful of the world, governors, senators, generals, the wealthy elite, now made the long journey to Nicopolis. They came to sit at the feet of a former slave, to learn the secret of true freedom. He had no status, yet he was revered. He had no army, yet he was powerful. He had no possessions, yet he was the richest man of all, for he needed nothing. It is the ultimate irony. Who is truly free? The emperor in Rome, so afraid that he must banish all philosophers? Or the exiled philosopher who fears absolutely nothing?
Epictetus, like Socrates, wrote nothing down. He believed philosophy was a lived practice, not a written one. But one of his students, a young nobleman named Arrian, was so profoundly moved that he transcribed his teacher's lectures word for word. He published them as the Discourses, and a shorter summary, the Enchiridion, or the Handbook. Those notes survived the fall of Rome, and about 70 years after Epictetus's death, those notes found their way into the hands of another man, a man who was, by title, the opposite of Epictetus. He was the most powerful man in the world, the Emperor of Rome. His name was Marcus Aurelius. Marcus, the emperor, was facing his own crucible, plagues, wars, and betrayals, and in his private journal, the book we now call Meditations, he doesn't quote other emperors. He doesn't quote generals. He quotes over and over the former slave. The words of Epictetus, "Remember that you are an actor in a play. Control your judgments. Accept what happens," became the guiding principles for the most powerful man on earth. This is the beautiful, perfect irony of history. The man in the palace, the master of the world, was a slave to his duty, his stress, his anxiety, and he looked for guidance, for freedom, from the one man who had been an actual slave, but who had found true, unconquerable liberty. The slave had become the master of the emperor's mind.
Epictetus's story endures for one reason. It is our story. His chains were iron, ours are mental, but they are just as real. We are chained by our fear of what people think. We are chained by our addiction to comfort. We are chained by our rage at events we cannot control. We are chained by the past and by our anxiety for the future. Epictetus holds up a mirror and asks us to find our own chains, and then he gives us the key. It is the dichotomy of control. It is the understanding that no matter what is done to you, no matter how terrible the circumstance, there is a space inside you that no one can touch. Your will, your choice, your response. Freedom is not the absence of external constraints. Freedom is the mastery of your internal response. So, look at your life. Look at the things that imprison you. A job, a relationship, a bad memory, a fear. You cannot control them, accept this, but you can control how you respond. And in that choice, in that moment, you are and always will be absolutely free. If this story of resilience and mental freedom resonated with you, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the wisdom that shaped history. Now, we want to hear from you. In the comments below, share one mental chain you are working to break free from. By sharing, we learn from each other.